Well, yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jack?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talk. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, wait a minute. One time during my career, I bombed a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Miss Cass, BVO Sports TV, Kong. Salute to everyone and welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, Don King, love him or hate him. Don King, love him or hate him. Has the family today. Right back at the beginning of another big week of boxing history. Salute Kong. Kong says Don King and Lewis versus Holyfield. Judging scoring cards in 1999. Yeah, that was a terrible one there. Remember the one judge, Eugenia Williams? Holyfield Bo outscored Holyfield like 40-something to 11 in one round, and this lady gave the round to Holyfield. And Lennox almost outlanded him 4-1 in that round. It was was she even at ringside for that round? Yeah, that was just terrible there. one of the worst judging decisions in history. But Lennox wasn't the second one. So, yeah. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at Don King. We're going to take a look at his life briefly, not that long of a thing. Then we're going to look at some of his best promotions, best events he promoted. I'm not going to say fights, because back in the day, Don did events, okay? Concerts, fashion shows, all that kind of stuff. He promoted the Jackson 5 tour, the victory tour for the Jacksons. Yeah, Don did that one. Just Do Boxing in the building. Salute Just Do. Coming up right after me at 4 p.m. That's who I'm warming you up for. That balanced, unbiased boxing talk. Salute Just Do Boxing. Yeah, Don King did the, we're going to look at 5 of his biggest promotions, and then we're going to look at some of his achievements over his career. You know, some of the things he did in boxing. Don King, love him or hate him, right? Had a little controversy this weekend, these judges, I don't know, man. I just looked at the draw between Pitbull and Roach. I just looked at the reactions of the two fighters. Pitbull seemed very happy when they said draw. He started smiling. He had the reaction of a winner. So they kind of tell me like he thought he lost. Lamar looked pissed off. So yeah, the reactions of the two fighters when they said draw tells the story, right? Okay. But yeah, another great weekend of fighting. Getting close to 26 now. 26 starting out pretty good. We getting Slick Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez early in the year. Yeah. Shakur gonna demonstrate as usual. This time on Teofimo. Right? But yeah, that should be a good fight, and it's early in the year, so wow. Okay, so now let's get into our fight of the day. Fight of the day, so we can get into Don King. Okay. So without further ado, today's fight of the day. And you know today's fight of the day today got to be a Don King production. Today's fight of the day: Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman, The Rumble in the Jungle, a Don King production. And Don King added, The Rumble in the Jungle, from slave ship to championship. This was Don King's first big promotion right here, and arguably his best ever, you know? And 3 years before this fight, Don King was sitting in jail. And then 3 years later, he's promoting one of the biggest fights in boxing history, the Rumble in the Jungle. Only Don King. Like Don King used to say, only in America. Okay? And this fight was October 30th, 1974. Ali Foreman, the Rumble in the Jungle. All right, let's go. And of course, a Don King production. In 1974, George Foreman reigned supreme. The previous year, he had astonished the sports world with his terrifying demolition of Joe Frazier, knocking Smoking Joe to the canvas 6 times in less than 2 rounds, and instantly putting the fair guard into all other heavyweight contenders at the time. Okay? And then his first defense was a gimme, a 1-round blowout of Jose Ramon. But his next fight in March of 1974 was viewed as a potentially stern test, a showdown with Kenny Norton, who had proved his mettle in 2 tough battles with Muhammad Ali already. Okay? So they said, yeah, George gonna get tested now. against this young former Marine, Kenny Norton. But there's Norton on the mat looking up. Foreman brutally stopped Joe Frazier, shocked everyone, okay? Second fight after that was Ken Norton. If anyone had any lingering doubts about the sheer potency of Big George's power, they were erased once the formidable 215-pound Norton turned into a rag doll after absorbing a few of Big George's uppercuts and haymakers. The massacre ended in the second round, just like Smoking Joe, which made it the 8th fight in a row to be decided by Foreman in either the first or second round. 8 fights in a row, first or second round, stoppages for Big George. That's what Muhammad Ali was going into in this Rumble in the Jungle. Mike Rim in the building. What's up, Mike Rim? Salute. Fight of the day, a Don King production. The Rumble in the Jungle, Ali vs. Foreman. 1974. September 30th, 1974. So yeah, Big George had demolished Joe Frazier and Ken Norton in 2 rounds, and his last 8 fights had ended in the first or second round. That's what the aging Muhammad Ali was going into in this Rumble in the Jungle. That's why, and nobody, including me, I was like 14 at the time, including me, was not giving Ali a chance, okay? Yeah, Foreman was overwhelming and unstoppable, a destructive force of immense power. That's what everybody thought. Okay? So, with these facts in mind, it remains impossible for Muhammad Ali to receive too much credit for what he accomplished in Zaire, Africa. 51 years ago, this year, Foreman was invincible, the most devastating puncher since Joe Louis, younger, stronger, and a 5-1 favorite over Ali. Before the fight, many of the greatest fans were sincerely fearful for Ali, including me, worried the awesome champion Big George might actually maim or kill Ali in the ring. And George Foreman and his team got down on hands and knees and prayed before the fight that they didn't kill Ali in there. And many people were afraid that might actually happen, okay? There's a poster of the fight, World Heavyweight Championship. It was on a Tuesday. Kinshasa, Zaire. 15 rounds of boxing. George Foreman, Muhammad Ali, a Don King production. But then, the greatest marched out and completely outclassed Big George, reducing him in the last few rounds to a stumbling, bumbling amateur, reaching in vain for Ali's head, as if to hold him still for just 1 second, as his wily nemesis leaned away and clipped him with staccato-like counterpunches. Harmless-looking blows, but on an exasperated Foreman, increasingly potent. Now, much has been made of the final right hand, which produced the knockout in round 8. But in fact, it was the cumulative effect of all the punches before it, and Ali's astonishing display of ring acumen, which determined the outcome. Now, along with his dismantling of Sonny Liston 10 years earlier, this was, in terms of skill and tactics, Muhammad Ali's finest ring performance. The one against Big George, outside of what he did to Sonny Liston, almost exactly 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago the year, because Sonny Liston was 1964. It should now be mandatory for anyone composing a list of the biggest myths in boxing to install in the top 5. In addition to Joe Louis needing a knockout to win against Billy Conn, and Willie Pep winning a round without throwing a single punch. Foreman's defeat to Ali being the result of the vaunted rope-a-dope strategy. Few boxing matches are as misunderstood as Ali vs. Foreman, aka the Rumble in the Jungle. Simply put, the former champion did not just lie on the ropes and let Foreman punch himself out. Such a tactic by itself was not enough to make victory possible. It would have been suicidal against one of the hardest punches in boxing history. There's Ali taunting George, probably telling him, damn, my grandfather gave me a beating one time, hurt more than your punches, Big George. And look at Big George is looking demoralized, like, I can't hurt this guy. Big George said at one point around the 6th or 7th round, he hit Ali, and Ali just looked at him and said, that's all you got. And Big George said that's when he realized this was not what I thought it was going to be. Right there, confident Ali shakes his head at Big George at the end of, and this is just the 2nd round. He got Foreman looking like that. Wow. Before the fight, many in Ali's entourage feared the worst. His personal physician, Dr. Ferdy Pacheco, had quietly arranged for a plane to be standing by to take Ali to Spain for an emergency medical treatment in the event of a serious brain injury against Big George. Wow. In the somber dressing room of the challenger, as Ali donned his robe and prepared to leave for the ring, someone reached out for his hand and wished him good luck. This was Ali's own team. His personal doctor had a plane ready to go to the specialist in Spain to examine him for brain damage after he fought Big George. And just before he left for his ring walk, somebody reached out a hand and told him good luck. Wow. They didn't have too much confidence in Ali going up against Big George because he had just demolished Joe Frazier and Ken Norton, 2 men that had beat Ali, remember? And then his last 8 fights had ended in the 1st or 2nd round, Big George. And Ali was aging, up in his 30s then. So people was actually scared for his life going into that fight. Indeed, it was boxing skill and ring intelligence which defeated Big George. Let no one tell you otherwise. After a frantic and surprisingly action-packed opening round, Ali understood what was required to master the feared power punching and simply went about the task of humbling Big George, albeit in a most surprising manner. There's Ali executing the rope-a-dope. Ali, though, my eyes wide open, though. Them punches was hurting, but Ali took them. Look how wide open his eyes is, though. Now, the widespread myth of Ali versus Foreman says otherwise. It insists Ali lost almost everything, almost every minute of the fight as he stood there and absorbed Foreman's power shots before the champion finally succumbed to exhaustion. But the truth is, Ali won perhaps 6 of the completed 7 rounds as he put on a clinic in advanced boxing technique, using excellent defense, superior hand speed, clinches, feints, perfectly timed counterpunches, and just about every trick in the book to neutralize Foreman's advantages in strength and power. And Ali had that overhand right working early too. It wasn't just laying on the ropes the entire fight. Ali was doing some scoring too. Only in the 5th round did Ali actually do what the legend insists he did for the entire fight, cover up on the ropes and absorb punishment. By that point, Foreman was already tiring and his punches lacked snap. The cagey Ali was simply draining George's gas tank along with what was left of his confidence. Fearing the worst, Ali's fans screamed themselves hoarse during that round, exhorting him to get off the ropes. But despite appearances, he remained in complete control. Most of Foreman's shots were blocked, and when he did manage to land a solid blow, the Iron Tough Ali taunted him by pausing the X, comparing vintages. That was George's best. Yeah, he kept asking George, is that your best? Is that all you can do, Big George? And there's the end. Foreman down in the 8th. Yep. Here's the end. With 30 seconds left in the round, and his fans fearing Ali on the cusp of oblivion, the greatest miraculously came to life, peppering Foreman with those light, quick blows before straightening him up with a pair of sharp jabs, and then, with the massive crowd going berserk, landing 5 hard counter right hands as Foreman flared about just before the bell. Ali had Foreman in a headlock and over the champion's back with the stadium in bedlam. He winked and stuck his tongue out at Joe Frazier, his old nemesis, who had picked Foreman to win and now sat ringside as a broadcast commentator. Yeah, he winked and stuck his tongue out at Joe Frazier. And Joe Frazier could hardly believe what he was seeing. Frazier was in shock after what happened to him. At that moment, Ali versus Foreman was already decided. The former champ took his time, waiting for the right moment, and then in the 8th round, struck with a series of blows, punctuated by a perfectly placed straight right. Foreman collapsed, failed to beat the count, and Muhammad Ali, to the astonishment of everyone, had regained the heavyweight title, stripped from him for his refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War. Under a pale African moon, with a massive throng chanting Ali Bombardier, and millions more watching closely on closed-circuit television, it was a night unlike any other in boxing history. There it is. It's over. Ali's great triumph. Sadly, with the passing years, Ali's great triumph has been reduced to little more than a much-used sports cliche. The champion himself is partly responsible for this. In the title defenses which followed, he often reverted to a masochistic parody of his Zaire performance, lying on the ropes and allowing younger fighters to pound away at him. He had the heart and iron chin to withstand the punishment, but the cost in later years would prove tragic. Despite this, we can look back now and appreciate anew the true brilliance of his performance against Big George Foreman. Knowing that it involved far more than loose ropes and Ali's astonishing durability, but also the skill of a truly great fighter, whose upset victory 5 decades ago remains arguably his finest ring achievement ever. There you have it, the fight of the day, the Rumble in the Jungle, a Don King production. Okay, so now let's talk about Don King. Pong says, ironically, the rematch would have been a draw. We could have had a trilogy. I think, if a Foreman and Ali rematch, I think Foreman would have won the rematch. I don't think Ali would have ever fought Foreman again because he knew he couldn't get away with that again against Foreman. He probably would have been an early. Excuse me for a minute. I think Foreman stops Ali inside of 5 rounds if they ever fought again. Yeah. That's what I personally think. Yeah. He couldn't have got away with those tactics again against Foreman. Foreman would have been different this time. He wouldn't have punched himself while he would have took his time. Yeah. That's just what I think. Maybe Ali beats him again because Ali was the greatest and he had something for everybody. So, maybe he does it again. He would never beat him in that way again, though. But Ali probably would have came up with something because he was the greatest. Okay. Now, Don King, love him or hate him. If Don King were a city, he would be Las Vegas. Flamboyant, awake 24 hours a day, and driven by money. Love him or hate him, he changed boxing forever. Don King turned the ripe old age of 94 this past August. Yes, 94. And the way he's going, the former numbers runner from Cleveland will probably live to the age of 100. Don King has said many times, he came up the hard way in a hard place. And he seemed indestructible when he really was the king of boxing, especially promotional-wise and influence-wise. And the guards have shined on Don King the gift of a long, long life. Yes, they have, him and the Godfather. And they're both the same age. Don King, the Godfather's birthday is this month. I don't know if it came yet, but Don King's birthday is in August. He's like 4 months older than the Godfather. The Godfather's birthday is this month, December. It's in here, be 94. Yep. And both still promoting. Don King not promoting to the level of Godfather now. The Godfather's still up at the big time like they were back in the day. But he's still promoting. They say Don King got fax machines and rotary phones in his office. Ancient. But Don King is one of the few modern era promoters who has shown the fire of the earliest known matchmakers, such as Tex Rickard and Doc Kearns from the early 20th century, early 1900s, right? These two pioneers showed the same intelligent, flamboyant, and flashy personality combined with creativity and ruthless ambition that have been key elements of Don King's success throughout his career. Don King was born in 1931 in Cleveland, Ohio, and the theme of his early life was characterized by the ambition of the town from the city's numbers racket game, which would become the theme of all of Don King's actions in later life. As a young kid, Donald was recruited to walk around Cleveland and record the lottery-style betting of the city's numbers game for his older brother, Carney. Now, King's impressive social skills were evident from an early age as Don got increasingly involved in the mob-controlled rackets of the day, okay? Got increasingly involved in it, and the social skills were very evident at a very young age. Al Booger in the building. Salute Al Booger. Hope you had a nice weekend. Yeah, Don's a Don. That's him, Al Booger. Don the Don. Okay, he used to walk around when he was a little kid. His older brother recruited him to walk around and collect money for the numbers game they had going on, right? And his social skills were very evident at a young age that he got increasingly involved in that. Now, Don was set to study law at Kent State University, but on December 2nd, 1954, he shot and killed Hillary Brown. Now, court ruled the killing justifiable homicide, meaning self-defense, after Brown and some associates attempted to rob one of Don King's gambling houses. And the message was loud and clear. No one gets in the way of Don King and his money. Okay, shot and killed the guy. But the court ruled the self-defense or justifiable homicide, same thing. And Don didn't do any time for it. A lot of states, well, like Maryland, they say they don't have self-defense law, but they got when you kill somebody, you can't use self-defense. But they call it justifiable homicide, same thing, Yeah. Okay. So Don killed the guy, but didn't do any time or anything because the guy was robbing his place. But in 1967, Don King was convicted of second-degree murder for stomping one of his employees to death due to a $600 debt. Now, for this conviction, he served around 4 years in prison. Now, you say second-degree murder, only 4 years, because what happened was his sentence got shortened, reduced, due to the charges being reduced from second-degree murder to voluntary manslaughter, later on appeal. Okay, so he did 4 years on that one. Now, King's time in prison only increased his relentless ambition. He spent this time reading and increasing his intellect to go with his already savvy street smarts and great talking ability. Now, Don King, who listened to the epic fight of the century in 1971 between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier while sitting in prison, amazingly, would become Ali's promoter less than 3 years later. Okay? The Rumble in the Jungle, the fight we just talked about for the fight of the day, was 3 years later. He promoted that's one of the biggest fights of the century, 20th century. And 3 years before that, he was sitting in prison. Like I say, like Don King said, only in America. Only in America. Only Don King could do something like that, right? Now, within a year of his release from prison, King started putting fights together. And eventually, he convinced Ali to come to Cleveland to put on a charity boxing exhibition. Okay? Arguably, the most polarizing figure in boxing history, Don King has people who hate him. And he also has people who say they owe him a great debt. Okay? Heavyweight warrior Chuck Webner, for an example of the folk who fall into the latter category, has nothing bad to say about Don King. And Webner goes as far to say the fighters who moan and groan about Don King are crybabies. That's what Chuck Webner said. He said all those five guys moaning and groaning are crybabies. He said Don always treated him good. Okay? Don King, Webner insists, always paid him his full money, and he always delivered when it came to promising him big fights. And when we look back, it's another of Don King's talents and noted accomplishments that he managed to get Muhammad Ali, after he had just shocked the world by beating George Foreman, to make his first title defense against a lower level opponent like Chuck Webner. Don got in to fight Chuck Webner in his first defense. But that's exactly what happened. That's what King convinced Ali to do. And the fight turned a profit, although not a huge profit. As a result of making the Ali-Webner fight, it was said that King was in the deep with some gangster-type figures. But on he went. On Don went. Now, much like Tex McCard's improvement of boxing as an event, Don King did the same thing by adding musical festivities to boxing events, including major stars performing like James Brown and Marvin Gaye, okay? Headlining shows around fight cards. And King's events also featured fashion shows. And like I said in the opening, Don King promoted that Jackson's tour when they got back together, the reunion tour in the 80s. Yeah, Don King promoted that, him and Al Heyman. Yeah. Don was in on that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is so true, Al Booger. And a true angel and absolute devil. Both of them. Mm-hmm. Yep. Love him or hate him. Now, Don King promoted everywhere. And over the course of 5 decades, he pretty much covered all the weight classes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Don King promoted fights. We haven't even heard about it. He was promoting down there in the smaller weight classes too. Yeah. He had Durant, all of them when they was down there at lightweight. Mm-hmm. Julio Cesar Chavez, Camacho. Don promoted all of them at one time or another. But back in the 70s and 80s, if you wanted to get anywhere in boxing, you had to deal with Don King and the Godfather, okay? If you wanted a big fight, you didn't have no choice. Because they had a stranglehold on boxing. And they worked together. They didn't like each other, but when it came to making money, they worked together, okay? So yeah, he pretty much, over the course of his 5 decades, pretty much covered every weight division. And Don always had amazing talent to work with. Fighters that either wanted to work with Don or had no choice. That was what I was just talking about. Had no choice. Like when the Mafia was 30s, 40s, and 50s, if you wanted a title fighter, you had no choice but to deal with the Mafia, like Jake LaMotta did. You wanted title fights and go somewhere in boxing, 70s, 80s, you had no choice but to work with Don King, okay? Had no choice. Or you wasn't going nowhere. Simple as that. Now there's Don King, James Brown, Muhammad Ali. That was around the Rumble in the Jungle because he had a show on Fight Week over there in Zaire. And James Brown headlined the event. And B.B. King, Bill Withers, a lot of the big stars of the day. Headlined by the Godfather Soul himself, James Brown. There he is, right there. Him and Ali and Don King. Mm-hmm. Don King had the connections. And that was just 3 years after he got out of prison, remember? There he is sitting there with James Brown and Muhammad Ali. In 1974, King got his big break when he staged the global event of Muhammad Ali against the feared young champion, George Foreman. This was the fight of the day we just talked about. This will always be King's biggest and proudest moment in boxing. It was dubbed the Rumble in the Jungle, and King also attached the phrase from slave ship to championship to the event. Now, if this immensely brave and unexpected venture had failed, nobody would be talking about Don King today. Okay, yeah. That put him on the map, the Rumble in the Jungle. Yes, it did. Now, the matchup came to represent great symbolism for the local African people who supported Muhammad Ali. And it also garnered great interest from the general public, who were eager to see if Ali could pull off the seemingly impossible against the seemingly invincible, younger George Foreman. This event was one of the biggest sporting events of the entire 20th century. And that's not just boxing. Sporting events, period. One of the biggest of the entire century, the last century, 20th. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. There's Don, Muhammad Ali, and Joe Frazier. Now him and Bob Arum co-promoted the Thriller in Manila. Okay, I think Bob had Joe Frazier at that time. Don was promoting Ali, so they co-promoted that one along with the Philippine government because it was in the Philippines. Remember? Yeah, but he had a hand in it. There's Don right there. Yep. King also promoted or co-promoted Ali Frazier 3, The Thriller in Manila, along with Bob Arum. And also, on a sadder note for Ali, but a financially beneficial note for King, he promoted Ali versus Larry Holmes, right? A fight Ali had no business in, right? Yeah, Don King promoted that one. Now, the earliest signs of Don King's financial ruthlessness and ambition in boxing was emerging in the 70s, okay? Don understood the importance of being visible, right? And audibly flashy to garner attention. And he also knew the importance of being on the winning side. Don King adopted his electric styled hair and distinctive catchphrases to make himself central to all of the spectacles occurring in boxing, more so than even his fighters, okay? Yeah, Don wanted to be bigger even than the fighters. Yes, he did. That's why he had that hairdo and the catchphrases and flashy, dress flashy and everything, because he wanted to be noticed. He wanted to be bigger than the fighters. Now that there, Don King started that. How all the promoters nowadays get in the middle at the face-off and the press conferences where they face off and everything and the weigh-ins. Don King was the first one to do that. Now, that ain't the first picture he did it, but he was the first promoter to do that. Now they all do it. But standing in the middle on the face-off like that, Don King started that, okay? It was from Don King that promoters started to place themselves in a visible position in interviews and the face-offs between the fighters. Yeah, Don King. King understood the importance of never allowing opportunities to promote and grow its own brand to go to waste, right? See, that's supposed to be about the fighters facing off, but Don started jumping right in the middle because Don understood the importance to never let an opportunity to grow his own brand go to waste. So Don, like all the cameras on these fighters facing off, I'm gonna place myself right in between them, right? And now they all do it. But that's why Don started doing it, because he understood the importance of that. That was a big opportunity to promote his own brand along with the fighters. So he started jumping right in there. And they all picked it up now, but that was Don's legacy, part of Don's legacy right there. Standing in the middle of the face-off, yes it was. It is believed that King ripped off the vast majority of fighters he worked with. Muhammad Ali's team never really trusted Don King, but they couldn't help but to admire the ambitious plans he would always approach them with. Okay? Yeah, Don was about making money. Ali was the fighter that caused Don King to grow into the global icon that he became. Yet, despite this, King ripped Ali off in the fight with Larry Holmes, shortchanging him over $1 million from Ali's $8 million purse. And then Don tricked Ali's associates to drop the lawsuit Ali had filed against him. And after that, Don managed to get an aging and ailing Ali to sign a contract to put Ali under Don King's control should he ever fight again. This was after the Larry Holmes fight. If Ali ever fought after that, it would be under Don King, and he did fight again. He fought Trevor Berbick after that. Yeah, Don was the first one, Al Booker. Yeah, because he understood these fighters getting all this attention, these cameras on them. I'm gonna place myself right in between them. Don never let an opportunity to promote his own brand go to waste. So he said, shoot, look at all them cameras flashing and everything. So he started getting right in between the fighters. Okay? And notice he the only one facing the camera. Yeah, Don never let an opportunity to promote his brand slip past. But now they all do it. Yeah, but Ali, then when he fought Trevor Berbick, he had signed with Don King. He could never fight anybody without it being promoted by Don King. Now, Don King would go on to promote other great fighters besides Ali and champions, including Roy Jones Jr., Larry Holmes, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr., Bernard Hopkins, Felix Trinidad, Wilfred Benitez, Salvador Sanchez, Wilfredo Gomez, Azuma Nelson, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Christy Martin, Mike Tyson, and many others. Yeah, that's before the I think that's before the first fight. I think Don and the Godfather co-promoted all those fights because I believe I don't know, one had Godfather was promoting one and I think Don King was promoting the other. But yeah, look at Duran. Look like he telling Sugar Ray, I'll smack you right now. Sugar Ray was pissed. That's why Duran won that fight. Sugar Ray came in there and fought angry. Duran won the mental battle in the lead up. Look at it. He said, I'll smack you right now. You know, that's what he said. Look. He took Sugar Ray off his game, went in there and fought Duran's fight, and got beat. Yeah. Duran played him way out of position. Yes, he is, Al Booker. Yes, he is. Okay, so when Don King zeroed in on Mike Tyson, it was years after Ali was worn out and George Foreman had found religion. And he promoted Holmes in between Ali and Tyson. And the king of hustlers, just like he did Ali, he persuaded an aging Holmes to get back in boxing and fight Tyson. So Larry Holmes was now in the exact same position that Ali had been in against him. Don just had that knack, man. He would throw that money. Holmes said he said no at first, but then Don said, I got $3 million for him. So Holmes said he went on and did it. And now he in the same position that Ali was in against him, an aging champion. No business still in the ring. And Holmes beat him up. And then Tyson did the same thing to him. But like T. Hill say, if Larry Holmes hadn't got caught in that rope, he might have caught Mike. And he might have knocked Mike out. Because Holmes had him lined up for that right. And remember, his fist got caught in the ropes and the punch never happened. And then right after that was when Mike stopped Larry. But yeah, that fist had got caught in that rope. But it did get caught in the rope. And what happened, right? So, yeah, we'll never know what would have happened. There's Don and Mike. That was when he was zeroing in on Mike around that time. Don King's pursuit of Iron Mike Tyson was patient and calculating. Now he got to Mike when problems started to derail the personal life of the heavyweight champion. Mike's personal life was in disarray. And Don played the role of friend and family. And their relationship would last for over a decade. Now, when it ended, Mike referred to Don King as just a bad man, a real bad man. He would kill his own mother for $1. He's ruthless. He's deplorable. He's greedy. And he doesn't know how to love anyone. That's what Mike said about Don King when the relationship was ending. Yeah. Yup. To convince him to fight Tyson, Al Booker. Yup. Al Booker says, that money talks real loud. Didn't Don stuff a bunch of cash in Larry's pocket that day? Yeah. I believe it happened like that, Al Booker. Yeah. Because Larry had said no. But Don gave him that money, and Larry said, okay. The purse was $3 million, but yeah, he stuffed so he gave him some kind of bonus. I don't know exactly how much it was, Al Booker, but yeah, that was what you're talking about right there. He gave him some kind of bonus, and Larry was like, okay. I mean, he had all that money in his pocket. How can you say no? Yeah, Don was something else. Like you say, Al Booker, an angel and a devil, all wrapped up in one. Yeah, but by the time him and Mike's relationship ended, Mike implored him. Mike said he would kill his own mother for $1, right? Now, Mike Tyson, Don King saw a vulnerable young fighter to which he could offer comfort and stability in a way to form a relationship with. In truth, according to people who really knew Don King, there's no relationship you can have with Don that doesn't involve Don reaping rewards at your expense, okay? People in his inner circle said there's no relationship you'll have with Don King where Don King isn't reaping rewards at your expense, okay? Yeah. So this is when he got to Mike. Everybody knows the story. After Mike's adopted father, guardian, and mentor, D'Amato died in 1985. And then Jim Jacobs, a D'Amato associate who was also close to Mike, also died. Mike wasn't protected like he was as when D'Amato and Jacobs was alive. This allowed Don King to increase his influence over the young champion. And eventually, he convinced Tyson to dump his trainer, Kevin Rooney, and his manager, Bill Cayton. These two men were the last members of the D'Amato team. And after they left, Mike Tyson was never the same fighter again. Yeah, after his trainer, Kevin Rooney, and manager, Bill Cayton, they were both appointed by D'Amato. When they left, that was it. Don had him then, and Mike was never the same. And Mike would tell you that himself right now, that after they left, my career left too. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I heard Mike say that on, well, not those exact words, but on his podcast, after he said, especially when Kevin Rooney left, Mike said that's when the downfall really began then. Mm-hmm. Now, Don King was great at using racial relations to convince young black fighters to side with him, as opposed to the man, like Don King called him. And Don King said the man would rip them off. However, it was Don King himself who they all needed to be wary of, right? And not the man. It was Don King. Here's him and Mike again. In 1998, Mike Tyson claimed Don King had shortchanged him for over $100 million. But Mike only received $14 million in an out-of-court settlement, okay? And Mike Tyson was the most expensive fighter in the sport at that time. Even after he returned to the sport from prison, he was still a cash cow. And Don King was a major reason for Mike's success because of his skill as a promoter. Don King sold out arenas. He packed 132,000 in the Azteca Stadium in Mexico for the Julio Cesar Chavez and Greg Hargan fight. And I think that's still a record for a boxing event, 132,000. What's up, BBO? Salute. Yeah, this show is brought to you by BBO Sports TV. Yeah, Don packed 132,000 at Azteca Stadium in Mexico for Julio Cesar Chavez and Greg Hargan. I think that's still a record for a boxing event, 132,000 people. Yep. He promoted Julio Cesar Chavez too. And one thing about Don King, he always left the venue after his boxing events with a bigger bundle than any fighter ever did, okay? Yeah. Don King was taken to court numerous times during his heyday. And he didn't win every time, but Don always left the courthouse smiling. There's him and Ali and Holmes. Let me look on it. Yeah, him and Ali and Holmes. Maybe we're getting that one together. Now, overall, Don King is one of the most ambiguous characters in boxing history. The traits that were the cause of his great success were also the cause of his ability to polarize opinion. King has been sued more than any other person in boxing history. But on the other hand, he transcended the sport as an event. His ambitious pursuit of the dollar and ability to generate finances was truly impressive, especially in a time of overt and institutional racism. Now, it could be described as disappointing that those skills were also used to shortchange fighters who put their life on the line every time they stepped into the boxing ring to compete. But Don King's ambition to succeed and overcome challenges is respectable and unique. How many people go to prison for murder and manage to come back and create an empire? Okay. And this man was in prison in 1971, watched the fight of the century between Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali. 3 years later, he was promoting Ali. How many people do that? Only Don King. Like Don King used to say, only in America, right? Watch Ali fight from prison. 3 years later, he was promoting him. And then that same year, he did the Rumble in the Jungle, one of the biggest fights in history. I mean, his biggest sporting events, not just boxing, one of the biggest sporting events in history. 3 years after leaving prison, okay? Don's abilities and actions truly merit his comparison to the earliest known promoters, including Moneyman, Tex McCord, and Doc Kern. But it may be the case that Don King outdid them all in his own right. Okay? Don might have outdid those earlier guys. Tex McCord, Doc Kern, still the earliest known promoters. Currently 94 years old, legendary promoter Don King goes on, still rolling, still active in boxing, promoting fights, and managing his company, Don King Productions. He has recently been in the news due to health issues and a $3 billion lawsuit. But King continues to promote fights, including Adrian Broner's last couple of outings. And he's working to schedule a WBA heavyweight championship fight between Michael Hunter and Kubrat Pulev. The Don King is still working. Yes, he is. This promotional company has a smaller profile than in decades past, but he remains active. In early 2025, King was hit with a $3 billion lawsuit over a failed plan to stage a Rumble in the Jungle Part 2 event. He is also involved in legal disputes with other promotional entities regarding fighter contracts. In September 2024, Mike Tyson expressed concern for King's health, revealing he had been hospitalized. King then released a statement saying he was doing fine and recovering at home. Don King was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1997. And Don King has promoted more than 400 boxing events over the past 52 years. Okay, over 400. In the past 52 years. Don King is still here, still smiling. And it's about 50-50 as far as who is happy about Don still being in the game. As Don once said, if Don King did not exist, they would have to invent him. Love him or hate him, we cannot deny the fact that Don King has had a major impact on boxing. And he gave us some great and historic events and still giving us events. Okay? Yeah, I don't know exactly what that one was for, Al Booger. It had something to do with, let's see. I was just reading it. That $3 billion. It had something to do with, what is it? Something to do, they was trying to do another Rumble in the Jungle Part 2. Okay. And then he was involved in some disputes with other promotional entities. I'm gonna have to check into that. regarding contracts. That might have something to do with the families, you know, the Foremans and the Alis. I'm not sure about that. I think I vaguely read something about that. Yeah. What's up, Mike Mazik? The Rumble in the Jungle Part 2 thing. Yeah. Mike Mazik in the building. But now let's look at 5 of Don King's biggest promotions ever. Okay? 5 of his biggest promotions that he ever did. Zidane. Yeah, love him or hate him. He's one, and I'm gonna do the 50 most significant figures in boxing again tomorrow. And Don King is top 5. Okay, him and the Godfather is top 5. When you're talking about significant figures in boxing, yeah, those 2 are near the top, and both still going strong. Both 94. Don turned 94 in August, and the Godfather turns 94 this month. I don't know if his birthdays came yet, but I know the Godfather's birthday is in December. Don got in by like 3 or 4 months. Isn't that something? They both the exact same age, and still, both still promoting fight, right? This is really something. They're the same age. But we're gonna look at his 5 biggest fights he promoted, and after that, I got some of his achievements in boxing so far, because he's still in it. Remember, some of his achievements in boxing so far. But these are the 5 biggest fights, 5 biggest events. Because Don King, you can't say fight, Carl. You got to say event. Okay, 5 biggest events promoted by Don King. Including the $110 million Mike Tyson fight and the Rumble in the Jungle. You know the Rumble in the Jungle is in there. Now, Don King is a controversial figure in boxing, but he is undoubtedly one of the most legendary promoters in the sport's history. He has promoted many of the biggest names in boxing history. Okay, Don King. He turned 94 years old on August 20th. Here are 5 of the biggest fights he ever promoted. Number 1, Larry Holmes versus Jerry Cooney. This was 1982. In the 1980s, Don King was a keen promoter of Larry Holmes, and he helped make his world heavyweight title fights must-see. The biggest one was Holmes' fight with Jerry Cooney, which marketed Cooney as a great white hope to dethrone Holmes and take his world title away and become the first white heavyweight champion in about 200 years. This drew enormous interest with pay-per-view and gate revenue to match, making it a huge commercial success for Don King. And Holmes finished Cooney in the 13th round, but both men made out with $10 million purse for their roles in this fight. This was in the 80s, 10 million, okay, like 40 years ago. Okay, number 4, going from 5 to 1. Of course, Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, the Thriller in Manila, 1975. 3. Now, this was a co-promotion with Don King and Bob Arum and the Philippine government. Yeah, this was a co-promotion here. Okay. Co-promotion. Now, in a rematch of the fight of the century in super fight, Ali and Joe Frazier battled for the 3rd and final time in the Thriller in Manila, one of Ali's most famous fights. The Philippines played host to this 1975 fight for the World Heavyweight Championship, which saw both fighters share a $14 million purse, split in Ali's favor. It is one of the greatest fights of all time. It was promoted by Don King, who sold the fight to the Filipino president for big money. The Godfather had a hand in that one too. Okay. Now, while full financials are not available, the fight sold over 500,000 pay-per-views, setting a record at the time, and making both men millions of dollars, including Don King. Okay? And like I said, Don King never left one of his events with less money than any other fighter. Okay? Don always left with the biggest purse. That's what you're supposed to do. Number 3, Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks. These are some of Don's biggest promotions. BVO says, great husband and father. Don is a true man of the people. From Cleveland, yeah. Great people from Cleveland. Don King, BVO Sports TV. Wow. Mike Tyson versus Michael Spinks, 1988. Now, Mike Tyson earned over $140 million in a 2-year period alongside King, which included a $20 million fee for his fight with Michael Spinks in 1988. Wow, $140 million over 2 years. And this was in the 80s, right? 40 years ago. The Iron Mike didn't take long in dismantling the challenger in one of his biggest paydays, taking just 91 seconds to knock Spinks out. This was one of Don King's best promoted fights and helped cement Tyson as an even more impressive force to be reckoned with. Okay, number 2 was the fight of the day today, was the Rumble in the Jungle. And like Don said, from slave ship to championship, the Rumble in the Jungle, one of the biggest fights to ever take place. And Don King managed to gross over $100 million by promoting the fight in Kinshasa, Zaire. I always had trouble saying that. Kinshasa, Zaire. I got to say that, so that's a real tongue twister there. Kinshasa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, S.A. Yeah, that is a tongue twister. Okay, Mike Rim says, I was in Babenhausen, Germany when that fight happened. Which one? The Rumble in the Jungle, Mike? Okay. Mike was in Babenhausen, Germany when that fight happened. Rumble in the Jungle. Okay, yeah, him and Foreman. The Rumble in the Jungle, or like Don said, from slave ship to championship. Now, the Rumble in the Jungle was 1974. Yeah, one of the biggest fights ever. It pitted 2 undefeated legends against one another. And Foreman had just demolished Frazier and Norton. And those were the last two men that beat Ali, remember? Only 2 men that beat Ali up to that point, remember? Yeah. And, Foreman, Ali, what happened? Ali stopped Foreman in the 8th, the Ruba note. That was when he won his title back. First time he get it back since he was stripped. Okay. And then number 1, Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield 2. This was the bite fight. Still one of Don's biggest promotions. And Mike, you ready to go for that air there, ain't he? Wow. Arguably, the biggest fight of Don King's career as a promoter was also one of the most controversial ever, as he was the man behind the rematch between Tyson and Evander Holyfield. It became controversial because of nothing Don King did, right? Don had nothing to do with this. After he was beaten by Holyfield in 1996, Tyson fought him in a rematch the following year, aiming to reclaim the world heavyweight title. Yeah, the bite is what made it famous. While the title belt wasn't his goal, Tyson came away with a part of Holyfield's ear as he chomped down on the champion's head to get himself disqualified from the fight. And he did it twice. He actually bit him the first time, and the ring doctor and Holyfield's corner said, the ring doctor said he can continue if he wants to. And Holyfield corner, Lou Dubin on him, they said, go ahead, they continued. And then Mike bit him again. So Don had nothing to do with the controversy in this one, right? But it generated over $110 million. That was the biggest of Don's entire career promotion. So now let's look at some of Don's other achievements. Okay. Oh, Spinks and Tyson. Okay, Mike. Was that fight in Germany, Mike? I can't remember. No, I can't remember where it was at. Vegas, but that's where Mike was at in Germany. I think it was Vegas because Jake Hardcore said he was at that fight. That Jake Hardcore said his mother fainted, and Mike got him out of there in 91 seconds. Excuse me for 1 second. We're gonna look at some of Don's biggest achievements in boxing. Yeah, and a bunch of them. Yeah. Get some of Don's biggest achievements. Bunch of them. This is gonna take us all out. It's gonna take us up to Just Do Boxing. Yeah. And a bunch of, Don King did a lot in boxing. Okay. Now, Don up there. His biggest achievement. That's how Don looks now. Right? Okay. Got his jacket on. Only in America. Now, the world-renowned promoter of boxing luminaries, including Muhammad Ali, Smoking Joe Frazier, Big George Foreman, Larry the Eastern Assassin Holmes, Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Manos de Piedra, Duran, Julio Cesar Chavez, Evander the Real Deal Holyfield, Felix Tito Trinidad, Bernard the Executioner Hopkins, Ricardo Finito Lopez, Salvador Shava Chavez, and Wilfredo Bazooka Gomez, just to name a few. Promoted all of them, man, Don King. He promoted over 500 world championship fights so far now, because he's still promoting. Over 500 so far. Nearly 100 boxers have earned $100 million more in Don King production or more. Let me say that again. Nearly 100 boxers have earned $1 million or more in Don King production so far. Fights that he's promoted. Over $100 have earned $1 million and more. So wow. Everybody always talking about how rip fighters off, but nobody mentioned that. Over 100 boxers have earned $1 million or more in Don King's promoted fights. They never want to mention that. They always say, well, he ripped this one, that one off. But look at all the money fighters made in Don King promoted fights. Right? Millions. Oh yeah, he was in the military. Okay. Then Mike, yeah, okay. Thank you for your service, Mike. Mike was in the military then. Watched the fight. Did they show y'all the fight over there, Mike? Okay. Don King Productions holds the distinction of having promoted 7 of the 10 biggest pay-per-view events in history. Say that again. Don King Productions holds the distinction of having promoted or co-promoted 7 of the 10 largest pay-per-view events in history, as gauged by total buys, including Holyfield vs. Tyson 2, 91.9 million buys. Tyson vs. McNeely, 1.5 million. That's top 5 right there. And Frank Bruno vs. Tyson, 1.4 million buys. Okay? 7 of the top 10 pay-per-view buys. Biggest pay-per-view events as gauged by buys have been promoted by Don King. Looking at some of his accomplishments now. Okay, well that's amazing. There's 7 of the top 10 pay-per-view buys. Don King. Don King Productions holds the distinction of having promoted or co-promoted 11 of the top 15 highest grossing live gates in the history of the state of Nevada, including 4 of the top 5. Holyfield versus Lewis 2, 17,078, $16 million gross, okay? And that's also the second highest live gate for any event in the history in the world, okay? Holyfield versus Tyson 1, 16,103 attendance, made $14 million. Tyson McNeely grossed $13 million. Oscar De La Hoya versus Felix Trinidad is the highest amount of pay-per-view buys for a non-heavyweight fight, 1.4 million. I said that wrong. The gross, which was 12 million. Now Floyd probably got the buys for a non-heavyweight title fight, but the gross is Oscar and Felix Trinidad. Yeah, gross, not buys. Amount of money. Okay, number 11 of the top 15, Don King. This is in the state of Nevada. His first boxing promotion staged on August 28, 1972 was a charity event featuring Muhammad Ali for the Forest City Hospital in his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. Becomes the second largest gross in history for a boxing exhibition, $80,000. Don King was the first promoter to guarantee the then unprecedented amount of $10 million split between Muhammad Ali and George Foreman to participate in the classic Rumble in the Jungle in Zaire on October 30th, 1974. This fight also holds the distinction of being the first television boxing event to be viewed by 1 billion people worldwide, a Don King production. Love him or hate him. First to receive $1 million to deliver a primetime network television fight between Muhammad Ali and Ron Lyle, May 16, 1975. First promoter to receive $1 million to deliver a primetime network television fight. Don King promoted the classic, third and final epic battle between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, known as the Thriller in Manila, viewed by over 1 billion people worldwide. I believe that was a co-promotion with Bob Father, I think. I'm going to have to check on it, but I think it was. I just saw that before I started. But Don had a hand in it. Don King was the first promoter to sell a fight for $2 million to a network featuring heavyweight contenders when Ken Norton faced Jimmy Young on ABC at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, 1977. First one to do it for $1 million, then the first one to do it for $2 million to the network. Okay? Don King was the first promoter to sell HBO a heavyweight world title fight. And this fight was between Larry Holmes and Mike Weaver. Yeah, first one to put a heavyweight title fight on HBO, Don King. He promoted The Last Hurrah, featuring Larry Holmes and Muhammad Ali, which produced the then largest live gate in history, $6 million at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, 1980. It was then the largest live gate in history. Don King was the first promoter to guarantee a boxer $10 million when he paid that amount to Sugar Ray Leonard to face Roberto Duran at Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Canada, 1980. Yeah, we're talking about how he ripping off fighters, but look at this. He was the first promoter to guarantee a fight of $10 million. They don't mention that kind of stuff. Never hear that. But we hearing it today. This is some of Don King's achievement. Okay. What's up, Ray Patterson? Salute. We talking about some of Don King's achievements. They always talk about what he did to fighters, but look what he did for fighters. First promoted to guarantee a fighter a $10 million purse. Well, what's up? Salute, RP. How are you today? Good to see you. Yeah, Don King. Okay, let's keep going. Some of his achievement in the sport of boxing. He promoted the Pride and that was Larry Holmes and Jerry Cooney. We talked about that one. Don King promoted an unprecedented 13 world champions exclusively and was the first promoter to stage 23 world championship fights in the same year, 1982, Don King. An unprecedented 13 world champions he promoted. And he was the first promoter to stage 23 world championship fights in the same year, 1982. Don King, y'all. 23 world championship fights in the same year he put on. Don King was the first promoter to establish his own television network called the Don King Sports and Entertainment Network in 1982. Well, our father never owned no television network. Don King had his own network. Okay? First and only promoter to place 2 world heavyweight title fights on the same card. On the Crown Affair, which had Larry Holmes against Michael Doak, and also Mike Weaver against. That was Mike Weaver. Larry Holmes and Larry Holmes and Tim Witherspoon, Mike Weaver and Michael Dokes. Don King was the first and only promoter to ever have 2 world heavyweight title fights on the same card. Holmes and Witherspoon, Dokes and Weaver. Only one ever. Nobody's never did that before or since. He was the promoter of the Jackson 5, Jackson's Victory Tour in 1984. This worldwide mega event grossed $150 million. Don King then brokered an appearance in a series of television commercials for Pepsi Cola. Yeah, him and Al Heyman did that. Al Heyman was involved in the Victory Jackson reunion tour promotion too. You always hear Al Heyman promoted that, but Don King was involved in that too. It wasn't just Al, although they both from Cleveland, good friends. But it wasn't just Al. Yeah, Don was involved in that too. Yeah. Okay. Don King was the first promoter to stage 25 world title fights in one year, 1986, breaking his own record of 23 set in 1982. And the World Boxing Association named him Promoter of the Year for that year. Okay? Broke his own record. He had staged 23 world title fights in 82, broke his record and staged 25 in 86. Yeah, he won Promoter of the Year in 1986 and 1987. Okay? Yep. The Tyson Spinks fight, that was a big one. Yeah. Mike Grimm was in Germany. He was in the military when they had that one. Tyson and Spinks. Don did that one. We passed that one. We covered that one. Oh, yeah. Now this one, yeah. Promoted Ultimate Glory between legendary Mexican champion Julio Cesar Chavez and Hector Macho Camacho, which became the then highest grossing non-heavyweight event in history and fastest sellout in the history of the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. Okay. Didn't say how fast it sold out, but it was the fastest ever fight to sell out at the Thomas and Mack Center in Las Vegas. That's where Earl and Bud fought at, right? I was gonna say, do they still have fights there? But yeah, I think Earl and Bud fought at the Thomas and Mack Center, I believe. I think. Okay, now he promoted called the Grand Slam because this featured 4 world championship fights headlined by Julio Cesar Chavez facing Greg Hargan, and this set the record for the highest in-person paid attendance in boxing history, $132,000. Okay, and I think that's still the record. No, that was the attendance. Yeah, not money. 132,000 people were there. Did I say 132,000 billion? No, 132,000 people were at this fight. I think this is the previous record was Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney from 1927. This broke that. And I think there's still a record, 132,000 people, Azteca Stadium in Mexico. Don King promoted that. Just some of Don King's achievements in boxing. At 3:30, I got a kind of a funny thing. It's talking about 10 current promoters. It's kind of funny. Like, we're gonna do that in a couple minutes, and then if time we'll come back to this. But that should take us out. And he co-promoted the Judgment Day fight between Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank for Ben's WBC super middleweight title. That set the record for the highest attendance for a British fight, 47,000 on the grounds of the Manchester United club at Old Trafford Stadium. And that's been broken since then. Yeah. I know, who was it? Tyson Fury and somebody broke. I know that they had like 80,000 in there. But that was a record back then. Don King. Okay, so let's look at this. We're gonna look at 10 of the current promoters now. Let's go through that. And in a minute, we'll come back with some more of Thomas Hill in the building. Oh, T. Hill Wednesday is coming up Wednesday. We're gonna look at putting together a boxing event, A to Z, beginning to end. That's Wednesday, step by step. From the moment the fighters sign the contracts, all the way up to the minute they step in the ring and go leather, and everything that happens in between. The venue, the drug testing, the getting the referees, officials, concessions, everything. Putting a fight card together, A to Z, beginning to end, coming up Wednesday. Brought to you by Thomas Hill. Okay, that's going to be Wednesday. Wednesday show. Yeah. T. Hill been on me about doing that one, so yeah. It's going to be Wednesday. It's going to be like 10 steps. Let's go into each step of the way. We'll break down and just talk about each step. Wednesday. Pretty good, I must say. But that's Wednesday, T. Hill. Okay? Yeah. I'm going to look at these promoters right quick. We're going to get some link time in a minute. This is kind of funny. If I can find it. Yeah. Current promoters. I didn't write it down. I don't know how I did that. Yeah, but Don King has a lot of achievements in boxing. He got the most championship fights in 1 year. 25. It was 23. He broke his own record. It's now 25. Yeah. I believe this is it right here. No, this is not it. Yeah, I believe this is it. Okay, yeah. 10 of the top promoters in boxing right now. Okay. Number one, got to go to the Bob father, Bob Arum. Bob Arum is the boss of all bosses. The guy who's been pulling strings in this game since before half these new school promoters were even born, right? You don't work with Bob. You kiss the ring. Shut up and pray he doesn't freeze you out for 5 years. He's got that old school gangster energy. Gravel in the voice, venom in the contract. If you owe him money, he remembers. If you cost him, forget about it. Bob doesn't do forgiveness. He does payback with interest. The Bob fathers promoted every legend from Ali to Inoue and never once gave a damn what Twitter thought. He built this sport for smoke-filled rooms and backroom deals, not YouTube thumbnails and the zone hashtag. While Eddie Hearn's doing interviews with TikTokers, Turkey Ali Sheik's throwing money at fighters on Times Square, and Al Heyman's hiding in a fortress. The Bob fathers busy controlling belts like rackets and forcing mandatories like shakedown. Yeah, Bob loved those belts. Stable past and present. Tyson Fury part-time. Beterbiev breaks faces for fun. And Inoue, flawless execution. He had Lomachenko. He got Shakur, Teofimo. No, he don't have Shakur anymore. Still got Teofimo though. Okay, next, Turkey Ali Sheik. Number 2, Turkey Ali Sheik. Boxing's oil feud overlord. Now, Turkey Ali Sheik's not really a promoter. He's a walking ATM machine. Turkey bankrolls entire cars with oil money while pretending it's about growing the sport. Right? Don't ask how a guy with no matchmaking history ended up running the sport. Just know if you dangle enough billions, even sanctioning bodies start saying yes, sir. Turkey doesn't build fights. He orders them like Uber Eats. Fury Usyk, bought. Joshua Ngannou, pocket change. Canelo Crawford, he made that one too. He just woke up one day and decided the impossible should happen. And on Netflix, the shows, massive budget, zero soul. You get pyrotechnics, orchestras, laser beams, and a crowd quieter than a dentist's waiting room. Still give credit where it's due. Turkey Ali Sheik did what 5 promoters, 5 networks, and 10 lawsuits couldn't do. He made huge fights. And he even made Canelo versus Crawford. Turkey Ali Sheik. Number 3, Frank Warren. Now, Frank Warren's a straight-up man of honor who's been through more wars outside the ring than most fighters inside it. Frank's been shot, sued, betrayed, and outlived by most of his own prospects. And he's still here. Frank's the tough old bastard of UK boxing. You don't survive 5 decades in this game unless you're meaner than the fighters. And Frank Warren is. Frank's new comeback to the top isn't a redemption arc. It's a bloody ambush. He didn't just survive. He came back swinging and beat Matchroom at their own game. And now he secured 3rd place. Eddie Hearn plays the game. Frank owns the turf, writes the rules, and breaks your nose if you argue. You're Frank's a tough old guy, man. Frank runs Queensbury like a pissed-off pub landlord, 100% loyal to his lads, but brutal with outsiders. And Frank is always one drink away from swinging at someone at ringside. When Frank walks into a room, the temperature drops. He's the type of guy who'd rather lose a fortune than back down from a fight. Ask any fighter who's ever tried to leave him. They'll tell you how that went. Frank Warren. Okay, 4 is Eddie. Eddie Hearn, boxing salesman in chief. Eddie could sell a swimming pool to a drowning man or ketchup popsicles to a white-shirted crowd. Every one of Eddie's events is massive. Every card stacked. And every boxer he signs is the next big star, if you let Eddie tell it. Eddie could sell, yeah, I said that. He could sell a swimming pool to a drowning man, right? Eddie would shake your hand, smile like he's your mate, then sell you a 30-pound pay-per-view full of mismatches and say, it's a cracker, mate. And somehow you'd buy it. Eddie is all gelled hair, charm, and a sales pitch so polished, it should come with a disclaimer. No promoter in the world can waffle like Eddie Hearn. He'll tell you that a 4-round fight at the O2 is historic. Claim Conor Benn is 100% clean with a straight face. And announce monstrous fights. They end up headlined by Fabio Wardley. Oh my goodness. The man can sell sand to the Saudis. He probably has. Wow. Well, where? Said he could say Conor McGregor's clean with a straight face and then announce the card as monster, headlined by Fabio Wardley. Wow. Man. Hard on Eddie. Okay. Al Heyman. No one's ever seen Al Heyman. I saw a picture of him. But Al's fingerprints are on every disastrous matchmaking decision since 2013. He's a ghostly built PPC to kill boxing so softly, and it worked. Half of his stable fights once every 2 years. It's kind of true. Okay, let's get Oscar. We're going in with Oscar. Oscar De La Hoya. Glamour and lawsuits. Oscar. We'll get like 20 minutes of late time. Now, Oscar used to be the golden boy. Now he's just golden tan, glass-eyed, and permanently online. 1 minute, Oscar is tweeting like a madman. The next, he's in a silk robe doing interviews no one asked for. It's not promotion with Oscar anymore. It's a public unraveling, and we're all watching. This was once the guy who had Canelo. He had HBO. He had boxing by the balls. He had a deal with Turkey. Now, Oscar blew it with Turkey. Yep. The one man handing out super fights like party favors. While Eddie, Bob, and Frank Warren were kissing the ring and making deals, Oscar was too busy starting Twitter brawls. Starting Twitter beef. The Turkey Island Sheik gave Oscar a shot, and Oscar went full Oscar. Now he's watching Canelo versus Crawford happen without him. Wow. Like the ex who got blocked from coming to the wedding. Okay. Yeah. They say Frank Warren is one drink away from swinging at somebody at ringside. Poor Eddie. Eddie will tell you Conor Benn is clean with a straight face. And then tell you a card is massive, headlined by Fabio Wardley. All with a straight face. Eddie. Okay, I'm gonna put the link in there for a little while, but 20 minutes or so. As it happens everybody's weekend. What y'all think about that Pitbull and Lamar Roach? Pitbull was too happy to get a draw. It looked like he knew he lost. When they said draw, he started smiling. I said, damn, most people be like, damn, a draw. Pitbull was happy as shit when they said draw, man. That's a good indication that you know you lost, I think. Y'all see it? When they said draw, I thought he was going to run over there and thank the judges for a draw. That was crazy. Lamar was pissed off. A draw. Pitbull was happy. thought he had lost that one. I don't want to see it again. Mm-mm. Nah, I don't want to see that one no more. Nope. They did what they did. They called it a draw. Move on. Neither one of them deserve a tank fight. Mm-mm. That's why Pitbull was smiling. Well, my chances at a tank rematch is still alive. Because if he'd have lost, that would have been it. I've never seen somebody so happy to get a draw before. Very interesting. But it is what it is. But how's everybody? Pitbull was thinking another payday. Yeah, that's what he was doing, Mike. That's it. That's it. He was happy. Yeah, they gave me a draw. I'm still good. Yeah, that's what was going on. Oh, shit. Damn, this thing get ready to go out. My battery running low. There we go. Okay. Now get off the screen. Thank you. Yeah, we had some more promoters to go. Oscar was last, right? Yeah, Oscar they made the Canelo Bud fight without him. Oscar had to watch outside looking in. Yeah. Floyd, boxing's loudest ghost. Floyd's whole promotional outfit is basically a flex. Tank was the only legit fighter he ever had. Built. Rolly was kind of worked out some. And now, Tank is gone. Mayweather promotion exists so Floyd can remind us he once mattered. Wow. I didn't write this. Yeah. There we go. There's Thomas Hill. What's up? Oh, I didn't even hit the thing. All right. It's still in here. There we go. What's up, T Hill?
Oh man, just enjoying the show.
Yeah. Just a little talk about Don King and then some other promoters that's all. What do you think about the fight Saturday?
Well, I was a little bit disappointed, but somebody called it. But I was a little disappointed in Stephen Fulton.
Yeah.
I thought that Stephen Fulton didn't take advantage of the opportunity that was given to him. I thought that Foster looked extremely good. He looked poised. He looked seasoned. And he looked sharp. Credit to him. All credit to him for being ready and being prepared. And
almost the best I ever seen him. Man.
Yeah, man. He was spot on that night, man. When people go out there and use that master class, that was as close to a master class as you can get in this recent time.
That's true.
I thought Ramos did what Ramos do. He assumes control and then he kind of lets off the steam when he could get people up out of there, and he did that. I think some of that might be conditioning. I'm not sure if he's in the very best of shape, but he still has excellent stuff, and it carries all the way up, and he just needs to fix that road work, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
Back in, right. He did that. Lubin.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought so too. But I got to give Shane Mosley Jr. a little bit of credit, man. I thought he was gonna get sparked, and he didn't. He
did better than I thought he was gonna do. I thought
that was a hell of a fight. I thought that was the other fight.
Frank Martin fought.
Oh, well, I called a 5-round knockout. I missed that. It was a 4-round knockout. But, yeah, Frank Martin not breaking himself to get to a weight. And he still got some goods, man. I mean, for him to start late, for him to excel in the amateurs as he did, shows that he's got some serious ability, bro. So,
That was 140, right?
He went up to 140. It looked good. That extra 5 pounds made a big difference.
Yeah. He needed to go up.
And I think also having Shields in the corner helped a lot as well too. So they seem to work well together. And
Yeah, I
good
didn't know
performance.
that. I was surprised. I'm like, what?
Yeah, Shields was a great addition, man. You know, had him out there doing something flowing, giving him good advisement. He got that last time too as well, but you know, it just wasn't able to execute it. I don't know if it was resonating with him like it did, seemingly did. Now that it is, Ramses is a little bit older, has been out as long, if not longer, and you know that affects him and his timing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Pitbull,
Main event.
yeah, was a decent to good fight. It was a little choppy at times, a little rugged because of all the grappling and you know tactics and antics that were going on. I mean, a lot of people complained about the low blows, the grabbing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is warranted, man. You know, Pitbull was definitely hitting low. Should have been deducted a point for low blows, but it wasn't. Somebody told me he was deducted a point for hitting them on the butt. And other people told me he was deducted a point for grabbing excessively.
I thought it was grabbing.
I thought it was grabbing too, but somebody said it was because he hit him on the backside. I don't know. But what I do know is that a point was warranted to be taken. Maybe not for the reasons that they stated, but some of the stuff he was doing was egregious. That being said, I thought 1 through 3 definitely was his. I think I edged 4 and 5 for sure to him. I thought 6 through 9 was Roach. I thought Roach was imposing the generalship upon him, and you know you didn't see Tank. I mean, not Tank. Pitbull coming forward is often in with the pressure, so that it's clearly a shift in how he boxed. I thought 9 and 10 were swing rounds that you could swing favorably more so to Roach than to Pitbull, but I thought 11 and 12 were Pitbulls.
Yeah, Roach was like he let up off the gas or something. No?
I don't think he let off the gas. I just think that he was getting tagged. Like in the 10th round, even though you could give it to him, he was taking some hits that, you know, that kind of shook him a little bit. He got shook about 4 or 5 times in that fight. He didn't get like staggered or anything, but he got shook a couple of times, and you know it altered what he was doing. But I'm not mad at the draw, especially when you factor the point deduction.
Without that, Pitbull would have won it.
Yeah, I think that if he didn't get knocked down, you know, he makes a better case for himself. But at the same time, I thought that the control in them rounds went to Pitbull. I just thought that 6 through 8 were definitely Roach rounds. And I thought that, you know, as were 4 and 5 for Pitbull, I thought that 9 and 10 were like that for Roach, where you got action from Pitbull, but not enough for me to give him the rounds. So going into those last 2 rounds, you know, it's pretty much dead even. And I thought Pitbull won the last 2 rounds. Now, given the point deduction, I had him 7-5 over Roach, but I'm not mad if somebody had it 7-5 over Pitbull. So it was a decent fight. It was pretty rugged and pretty sloppy, but it was action in there. And you know, hey, that being said, I was about to say, that being said, man, you know, I think as you go in there and you're trying to take something from somebody, you got to go up in there and leave no doubt. And unfortunately, there was room for doubt in the performance, and I think that's why, for the most part, Roach was not going to get that decision. But
we'll have an interim title.
Well, they were fighting for the interim, I believe.
Oh, fighting for the interim. Okay.
I believe, but
Yeah.
I'm not absolutely certain because I remember. No, I think he might. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. To tell you the truth, but what I do know is Pitbull was doing things in there that I've never seen him do before. I've never seen him dance on the back foot. I've never seen
Yeah.
him showboat and grandstand. So that fight had a lot of stuff going on in it, man. But shout out to both of them because they put on a performance, and all they had to do was really clean up the grabbing. They could have done that. It could have been so much better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I never seen Pitbull do that type of stuff in there before. And I don't know what was wrong, what got into him.
Not at
He's
all.
serious type, coming forward and serious type fighter, And that high guard team tucked in. But, So would you like
Mike Rim said he got a chin like Ray Mercer, Mosley's son. I will agree with that because I thought he was getting sparked, but nah, he didn't. And I think that a lot of it was also because my man didn't put on the press like he needed to try to get him up out of there. But you got to credit that to Mosley as well too. What were you saying? No, my bad. Okay.
Oh no, I was just wondering about what we got coming up. I don't think it's nothing big, and not too much big happening the rest of the year. Is it?
I think there's a fight coming in the 20th or something like that. Let me see.
Oh, yeah, and then we got Shakur and Teofimo. I think they early next year. January, ain't it? End of January, I believe. Teofimo and Shakur Stevenson is coming. I got Shakur in that one all the way.
Yeah, I got Shakur as well too. But I'll say this: if T.O.'s on his stuff, he can make it difficult.
Yeah,
he is talented. He is gifted athletically, but
right.
He can't.
Which one shows up? I have a lot to do with Teofimo fights. Did I do something? What happened to T.O.? He dropped off. Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, he doesn't fight well off the front foot, so hopefully he can get out of that.
It should be a good fight, though. I got it going the distance. It'll be 12 good rounds of boxing. T.O. can box. Yeah, all this power and all that, Well, he does have some power. I don't know about 140. If he got the same power at 140 he had at 35. What you think about that? T.O. at 140. I don't think. Have we stopped anybody at 140? T.O. I don't think so.
My bad, man. I was trying to find the fights and it had put me all the way off the screen.
No, have T.O. stopped anybody at 140?
T.O. ain't stopped nobody.
No. None of them. He's been in some questionable fights up there too. Yeah,
he's been in some suspect fights, but
he looked like he could have still made 135.
Yeah.
But, big guy.
Yeah, I think he's good at 42, but it's just that I think he never really was truly powerful. It was more so his athletic ability and his speed that was getting people and just the culmination of punches. But at the same time, I mean, it remains to see how the weight increase was going to look upon Shakur. It might be beneficial for Shakur.
Yeah.
And, that could give him an added look. So it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be a hell of a fight. Like I say, to date, between the contemporaries, because we know that they are Devin, Shakur, Ryan, T.O., and Tank. Of those five, the best fight currently to this date is Devin versus Loma. I think the next best fight is this fight that's coming up, and then maybe Loma versus T.O. or Ryan versus Tank. They go 1 and 2, and then Devin versus Ryan. I mean, that's That's how I look at it. So
Yeah.
we're getting a fight that people had clamored for it and wanted to see. So that's good, and hopefully they both are at their best, so
You
that
gotta
we
give
can
him
get the
credit,
best.
too. He jumping right into the fire in his new division.
Yeah, he is, but I think also having seen him struggle with so many people makes it a lot easier to be assertive with that fight, because if these people can do it, I surely can get into you too. And
Right.
T.O. is going to have to show that he's more than just what he's shown before, because it won't be that type of performance. Like that Sandor Morton performance could happen in the same fight with Shakur, because Shakur has that type of skill set and understanding of the ring. And he had that. Yeah, exactly. And then he had that struggle with Ortiz.
Sure did.
And if Ortiz would have threw more punches, they would have been forced to give him the fight, because I thought he won the fight regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that he knows that there's criticism of him that's warranted, and he's going to have to change it against Shakur. So he's going to have to come in with a better mindset, and he's got to be on some good stuff, and he's going to have to get some good people up in this corner to give him a fresh look, so that they can understand what they're going up in the ring against.
Like Mem says, T.O. will have to take risks if he doesn't secure his power. It's going to be tough for Shakur. When is that?
Absolutely.
When
Absolutely.
Is that? End of January? That's not too far away.
What's that?
That fight, Shakur and
Oh,
T.O.
yeah, that fight is in the 20th, I think.
Yeah.
In January. So yeah, it's not too far away.
And they put that together fast too.
Because I think they're done with T.O. So they're reserved to the point where we'll lose this belt just to be done with him. And that's a possibility that they could lose the belt. It's a possibility he still wins, though. I mean, it is T.O. and T.O.'s still good, but I just don't see it.
Nah. Not from, like you were saying, the performances against Martin.
Yeah, and not from the performances that Shakur has had it as well too. Now I will say Shakur can't fight him like he fought Zepeda.
Zepeda, nah.
Yeah, he can't fight like that against T.O.'s a much better version.
And more athletic and everything. Yeah, no, he can't
and
fight.
Everything.
No.
And everything, like you said. So, you can't do that. But what he does do well, I think it gives T.O. fits. And,
Yeah. He's going to go back to his movement, ring generalship, all that type of stuff on T.O. He's not going to fight him like Zepeda. He just knew he could get away with it against Zepeda, But nah. It should be good, though. Because like I said, T.O. is a good fighter, too, now. He can box. So it won't be no upset if he wins. If T.O. wins, you couldn't call it an upset. No, I wouldn't. Would you call it the upset if T.O. wins that one?
I don't know if you can classify it as an upset, but I would call it an upset. I would deem it an upset because I don't believe that he's better than Shakur.
Nah.
I think that he has better ability than Shakur. I just don't think that he's better than Shakur.
Yeah, I see what
you're saying. Think, as far as gifts with what they use their feet, their hands. I think that he's very athletic. He's very quick.
T.O.
He's got T.O. But he just doesn't have the concept of how to put things together, like
right,
and to gauge like timing and distance like Shakur does. I think Shakur does, and Shakur is not. Shakur may even be quicker. Maybe not as fast, but quicker. And if you're quicker and your timing is better, you're faster because you're quicker to the punch. You're quicker to everything. So and you're quicker to diagnose. So yeah, I wouldn't call it an upset, but from the standpoint of he's been there and he's accomplished a little bit more, then you could say that. But man, I favor Shakur. But I'm about to share something with you in the back.
January 31st. Okay.
This is where I go for the upcoming fights.
Mm-hmm.
So you see that in the back? Oh, January 31st is the fight. Okay, bet.
No, okay, so where do you go now for the fights?
You see it in the back on the chat?
Oh, I believe. Okay.
It gives you everything.
Okay. Yeah. So who they got this weekend? Anybody?
There's 2 fights. There's one on the 11th and one on the 12th.
Oh, okay. Wow. Ooh.
And the one on the 11th is more of a international flair card, and the guy that fought Morrell last, he's on that card as on the undercard. And then there's one with who else was on there?
You seen Define Arnie? He been coming on because I used to be asleep, but I haven't seen him in a while. Define Arnie.
No, I haven't seen him.
He'll be all right because he don't usually stay. We've been going. I haven't seen him in a minute.
I haven't seen him.
We have to check tonight, see if he come on, because I used to be asleep by that time, when he come on. But I'm gonna check tonight because I haven't seen him in about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, hopefully he comes.
Yeah. Yeah, just hope everything all right with him, I've seen him in a minute. I'm gonna check tonight just to see.
This dang phone acting up. It keep booting me up.
Yeah.
But I guess that's time to say it's time to go. Yeah. But let me tell you, you could click that link and it tells you about all the upcoming fights. And if you click on the fight, where the first one is, why the date, it'll show you who's on the card, where it's located, and what's up for.
Okay.
And so that's where you go to get all the information. So
where's he going to be at though, T Hill? The putting the fight together.
I know. I heard you say. I can't wait to see that one. That one's going to be an epic. That's going to be a series, right?
I'm gonna do it all that day. I got it.
You gonna do it all in one show? Okay, that's what's up.
Try to anyway. Anyway, Yeah. Yeah,
that's gonna be a great show right there. I think that the playback value on that's gonna be awesome.
Okay. Yeah.
I think people because they don't really understand what goes into making a fight and how many hands get greased.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
And the state athletic commissioners play a big role too, because the rules vary from state to state.
Exactly.
So they have a lot to do with when the promoter's putting the fights together, depending on where it's set. That changes a lot of stuff,
Yeah, exactly.
And they have to approve the referees and everything. The promoter can't just go out there and say, well, who's gonna referee this fight? The state have to say, well,
yeah, because it's happening.
On our list, so you got to get somebody else.
Yeah, it's happening in their state, so they got to make sure they sign off on everything.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think that's right though. I think it should be universal, like every other sport. Boxing is the only sport like that, man.
Yeah, that is true. But for one event, it's much more money being made than it is in most other sports.
That's true. Yep. And they like the confusion, It's easier to be corrupt when you got all that confusion going on.
Yeah. And we already know that, there's some shadies going on up in the sport of boxing.
That's true. But that's a good point you made about the one event and all the money. That's a big difference from the other sports too, Other sports more regular and everything, So
yeah, I mean they make bank too. But you think about it, you got a lot of people coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like you got what you call that, where tourism.
Yeah.
Then you got patronage, and then you got
mm-hmm.
Man, you got so many things that you gotta consider when there's a big, huge boxing event. So they definitely dealing more Benjamins than anybody else.
Yep, they got the drug testing and everything.
Absolutely.
the nearest hospital. They got to map out a route to it and everything in case something. It's just so much goes in. But we're gonna talk about it when so much
Oh,
goes
for sure.
in. All of that. Yeah. Yeah.
But all right then, Kaz, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate the content, man. I know you want to get down and chillax and do some things before you end up laying it down. Spend some time. I know it's almost time to get that good food up in you too. But appreciate you. We know Just Do is on, so you people that have been watching about the legendary career and the impact of Don King and other promoters, you guys go on and mosey yourself on over to Just Do Boxing, where boxing always gets its just due. My man Just is always doing his best to give boxing its best light, and on top of that, the fighters in it to be represented. So man, you were gonna enjoy yourself over there. And shout out to everybody that showed up here, man, especially those in the comments. We had Mike Rim. We had my main man, Ray Patterson, the Jersey champ. We had BVO from Cleveland, Al Bugger, the professor, Just Do himself, Kung Kyle. We had the better half, Mrs. Victoria, aka Mrs. Cass, and we had Cass Sports himself, man. So 2 through 4. Wednesday is gonna be a special treat. Tune in, share it, tell a friend to tell a friend. And with that, we out.